Welcome to episode 64 of the Unstoppable podcast with special guest Oliver Talamayan. My name is Dan J. Gregory and I am committed to hunting down the secrets of business mastery and human performance. My goal for the Unstoppable podcast is to share insights from some of the most successful entrepreneurs, inspiring thought leaders, world-class athletes, and prominent celebrities to help you to become unstoppable in business and life. Each week I'll be bringing you a new interview with an inspiring person and sharing my own results as I pursue the answers to the question, how can I create the ultimate edge in my business, make a significant impact, and live an extraordinary life? Hello and welcome to episode 64 of the Unstoppable podcast. If you are looking to rapidly grow your existing business and take everything to the next level, then this episode is an absolute must for you. Before I introduce today's very special guest, let's recap what's been happening on the Unstoppable podcast over the past 7 days. On Monday's solo round, I shared an episode called The Side Effects of Thinking Big. It's one of my favorite episodes so far, and it was all about some of the positive and negative thought processes and patterns that occur when you start setting big, ambitious goals. It's a must listen if you want to up-level your goals and dreams in 2016 and beyond. Last Thursday, the show featured Lazo Freeman, who's known as the UK's highest paid body transformation expert, and he shared his physical transformation secrets to enable you to sculpt the body of your dreams and maximize your energy and really create your own body transformation. Now, before we jump into today's show, let me encourage you to join me in my free, private, Unstoppable Mastermind group on Facebook. This week, I made the commitment to go all in with the group. I started it a number of weeks or months ago, but it's now time to go all in and build the number one community for the world's most ambitious entrepreneurs, the Unstoppable Tribe. So go and check it out. You can look at it at unstoppablepodcast.com/tribe or type in Unstoppable Mastermind in Facebook. As always, the links will be in the show notes. All right, so let's move on to what I have in store for you today. In this episode, you will learn how to build a high-ticket business so you can experience more freedom, more success, more happiness, and more fulfillment in your time on this earth. So our guest today is the world authority on high-ticket programs and services. I am absolutely delighted to introduce you and bring you Oliver Talamayan. I followed Oliver for some time now. His content is absolutely A-class. He is the go-to guy for when it comes to selling high-ticket programs or services. He's known for his ability to double, triple, or even quadruple his clients' revenue within a 12-month period. So get ready to learn the keys to creating rapid results in your coaching or service-based business, how to effectively network in your industry to scale your business fast. You'll learn the number one secret to dominating any niche. You're also going to learn how to position your business for high-ticket sales and how to build authority with your prospective clients before you even pick up the phone. Since starting his first business back in 2004, Oliver's gone on to build multiple seven-figure businesses and become a number one best-selling author on Amazon. So get ready right now to take your business to the next level. Grab a pen, get ready to take some notes. Introducing Mr. Oliver Talamayan. Oliver, welcome to the Unstoppable podcast. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here. It's great that we're on the same time zone. Oliver's over in Norway at the minute. To kick us off, would you mind describing what your business is all about right now?
Yeah, so good question, because actually I've been doing this for over 12 years and the business always evolves. So long story short, it always involves some sort of selling. Because the thing is, I believe that everybody is selling something, whether they're selling an idea, they're selling they're selling themselves, or they're selling a concept to better a relationship. Everyone's selling all the time. So when I first started out, a lot of it was I was selling digital products, services that I was doing, and selling them from starting off with selling them for cheap, and then gradually selling them for higher end programs and services. And now I've evolved to a different kind of sale where I mostly spend a lot of my time in acquiring and growing businesses.
Wow, very different.
I would say about 60 to 85% of my time doing that, like acquiring and just growing. Because the thing is, what I love doing the most is marketing, sales, and expanding. So that's my I love it. It's fun, and I don't feel like it's work. So my mindset is, how can I structure most of my time during the day doing the things that I absolutely love, so I don't get lazy. I'm always motivated. So a good portion of my time is spent doing that, and then like 10 to 15% of my time I do coaching. Like I'm like teaching people how to sell high ticket packages.
Yes.
And that for me is also fun because it's, it keeps me sharp, keeps me on my game, and I just love that whole interaction. So it's kind of changed, but right now I'm in the kind of like 90-10 split.
Wow.
How I run my time. Yeah.
Awesome. I would like to get into the kind of journey in a minute, but before I do that, what's the kind of non-business Oliver all about? Fill in the gaps outside business.
Non-business. So for me, I've always been kind of obsessed and focused on growth. So for me, it's I call it human potential hacking, where in all areas of my life I just want to get better. So if I'm not in business, I'm normally learning something. I'm just diving deep, learning something, or I like spending time with friends. Like I'm having like really good conversations or doing like fun stuff. Like whether you're watching a movie together, playing a board game, going kayaking. But for me, it's I'm either learning or I'm experiencing. I love investing in experiences with the people that I love and care about, or just meeting new people in general. So I'm always either learning, or I'm watching. Like if I need to disconnect, I might be watching a season of Netflix, and I'm the kind where I work hard, I play hard, so I might go through an entire season in 2 days just to decompress. So
Yeah,
a lot of it is just looking at all areas of my life. I try to give 100%. So, and I try to keep it balanced. So for me, non-business Oliver is like same thing. I'm learning, I'm connecting with people. I'm finding a way to just add value and just to enrich the experience. So that's kind of like kind of fun. Fun for me is a big thing. So that's always part of my life, business or personal.
Awesome. And where did your entrepreneurial journey begin? When did that kick off, and what inspired you to get started?
I think growing up, my dad grew up I grew up in a very entrepreneurial household where my dad had a lot of businesses that he did, and he scaled, and he did good, and then some of them he failed. Most of them he failed. So for me, I was exposed to that, and my dad is I remember I spent the first half of my life thinking I don't want to be like my dad, or that was a big motivation. I just want to be the opposite.
Right.
I guess my dad was stubborn. He knew it all, and he didn't really care about what other people thought. And the cool thing is I absorbed all of that stuff and used it in business.
Yes.
And it actually served me. So I spent the first half of my life kind of disassociating myself from my dad, and the other part of it, appreciating the things that he had that pretty much created a perfect environment for me when it comes to being entrepreneurial. And for me, it started in 2004, and I remember it was just my family is a long list of a lot of them are either doctors or lawyers,
right?
And they wanted that path. And for me, it was just one, it's it was boring. Two, I don't like blood. I don't like needles. And three, I can't sit and finish a chemistry class for the life of me. So it's just, and so I remember when I was in college, I think it was second year, I looked into how to make money on the internet. And I remember dug deep, research, bought programs, and 60 days into it, I was putting everything together, learning, and I just decided to try it out, which is the scariest thing because you learn and then you have to try, and you're I don't want to try because I don't want to fail. And when I tried, I remember in launching that program after 60 days of learning and implementing, and next thing you know, 24 hours later, I made $2,000, and I'm like, I'm quitting. I'm quitting. I'm just quitting college, and I'm just gonna focus on this. So that for me was a big
pretty defining moment.
And also is I like efficiency. So for me, it didn't make much sense for somebody to if I can get this result in this amount of time, if I can be financially free in a few years and not have to wait till I'm 60, then why do I have to wait? So for me, I've never I've never really been into following the norm of
Mm,
society and how things are. I was always doing the opposite of what everybody else did. So for me,
nice.
I'm like, so it's that helped. That kind of wiring helped to my advantage. But yeah, that's kind of like where it all started.
Awesome. And what just can you kind of walk us through kind of a brief history of your kind of business ventures in terms of where it went from that initial venture where you got that first, 2K in and it opened up your eyes to what was possible. Where did you go kind of next on your journey?
So in my journey, it's always been involved around coaching or providing services,
Mm,
and the journey has always just been like I would model somebody and I would just copy it. So a lot of the times when I first got started, it was in the dating industry, and I remember I just decided that I wanted to be the best at it, and I decided that I wanted to be efficient. So did that. Looked at what the people were doing marketing wise that were doing really really great, copied everything that they did, and got to a point that I got bored. And back then, I remember I wasn't focusing a lot on systems or sustainability. So
mm,
I would go in there, go into a project, and once I get bored or I hit a certain block, normally I would jump. So I was creating back then. The skill that I had was creating multiple companies, but I would create it in width but not depth.
mm.
So I went from I was in the dating industry, and I got out of that, and I went into the business industry. And I remember for that, the big mindset shift for me was I remember I went to I was some months were 10K or 15K a month or 8K a month in the dating industry, and I'm like, you know what, I really want to get us to the next level. I want to make millions. That was
Nice.
the goal. So I was like, what's the best way to do this? So at that time, I actually heard about this seminar, and the seminar that I was going to go to, it was how to grow your company to 20 million. And
Wow.
I'm like, I can't fail. There's no way I can fail because if I I was making a million then, but the worst case scenario is even if I applied 10% of 20 million, and that's 2 million, or even if I just took 5% away, I'd still be at a million. So what's there to lose? I had nothing to lose. And everybody
Mm,
there was everybody that was in that seminar was supposedly majority of them were millionaires already. So I'm like, perfect.
nice environment.
Yeah. So I didn't have all the money, and I remember it was so embarrassing because I had to go back to my mom and borrow the money, and I'm like,
Mm.
which again, when you say I'm not going to college and I'm doing this and I'm dropping out, and and they cut you off, in that tension period, and now you're gonna have to be like, I need money. So it was like kind of like pretty much biting your tongue and just checking. It's like ego check, and I did it, and I went to that seminar, and because of that seminar, and the cool thing I learned about seminars too was most of the deal making happens outside. So
Mm,
people that are sitting in the seminar
mm.
room are people that are learning, but the people that are the most successful making money, they're not in the seminars. Most of the time, they're in the bars drinking and making deals. So I'm like, or in the hallway. So when I discovered that trick, I'm like, okay. I was like, this thing is recorded anyway, so I'm going to sit in some areas, and most of them I'm just going to go ahead and connect. And luckily enough, I was able to meet somebody, a bunch of people that around my age range, about 2 years older at that time, and they were making like 1.8 million a year. And I remember we stayed in touch, became good friends, and hung out with them a bunch of times, and then kind of immerse myself into the world. And one time I was like, you know what? Let me try do what you guys do. And they brought
Mm.
me into their world, and I remember quickly, once everything clicked, the mindset part clicked and the techniques clicked, I had my first $100,000 day,
Wow.
which was for me very, very shocking. And when everybody does, or at least my perception is, I blew all of it in stupid stuff, cars, vacations.
Yeah,
So
fun stuff.
yeah, so my financial limit of my financial my wealth literacy wasn't that high. I was like, my thermostat for success was pretty low, so I just found a way to go back to what I was used to because
Mm,
that was outside of my comfort zone.
mm.
But that was the next evolution. And from then on, it was just same story. Every single industry that I came into, study the best, went in there with the intention of dominating or being number one. That always drove me, and I just found a way to make it happen. And for me, I'm like, my strength is growing, starting stuff, growing it, scaling, and getting it to a point where it's where I wanted to be. And my weakness is I don't really like operational stuff. I don't really like, dealing with all the other elements of it. It bores me. And that's why, the model that I have right now is acquiring businesses and just focusing on pretty much taking care of the marketing, the business development, and the sales part. And for me, it's right up my alley. I don't have to worry about all the other stuff.
Yes.
That it's not my core competency. So yeah, my business model evolved pretty much from ever since I had that experience. A lot of it was just like looking for people that were light years ahead of me, like 10 to 20 or 30 times of where I want to be, and just making sure that like my phone list or people that I talk to on a daily or weekly basis are comprised of those people, because I'm always like getting pulled into their level of mentality and just and the way they think and just their habits. So for me, that's my fail proof way of succeeding, is just like, even if I had no books, even if I had no audios, even had no seminars, I would just at least get 3 to 5 people that are there and talk to them, make them friends and talk to them until my entire mind and being is reprogrammed and it kind of like attunes to their level, and it just automatically pulls me up every single time. So that's my kind of like strategy for doing that.
Awesome. So I met a guy today who's just starting his business. He has a business where it's called Street to Boardroom. He's helping people who have come from a criminal background, drug addiction, broken homes, take them from the streets and translate the skills they learn in their kind of criminal activities into business activities. One of the challenges he says he's got right now is because it's not a charitable organization, but of course the people who come to him are broke, not only broken, potentially mentally because of the challenges they've had, but financially they're broke. So funding is key for him. But his biggest challenge is building that network. So, for anyone in business, that network is so important. And, I've been reflecting on this myself over the last couple of weeks. I sat down and looked at what do I need to do next? I've built this podcast. I've connected with some amazing people, but I kind of opened the door and left it open without really building deep relationships with these amazing people that I've connected with. So in your opinion, what is the key to building quality, lasting relationships with people that can really help you move the needle in your business?
So networking is by far the most important thing you can ever do in your business. You can take away somebody's millions of dollars or billions of dollars that they have, and if they have their network, they're going to be up there, up and running. It's the ultimate asset.
Yes.
So a lot of times, I've studied a lot of people that are the best at networking, and they just think differently. Because a lot of the times when people are networking, they're thinking about what's in it for me, or a tit for tat, or it's got to be fair. So for me, the way I networked, and that's a lot of how I launched a lot of my earlier successes, was went from not knowing everybody to becoming one industry. I didn't know anybody in there, but it was really, really profitable, and I implemented a networking strategy. In 90 days, I was the most well-connected person in that industry. And the way I did it is, it's a mentality shift. Instead of I'm not here to take something from you, I'm here to figure out the 2 or 3 things that you want to achieve in your life and your business, and I'm here to make it happen. Nice. By either helping you personally, or by connecting you to some people or resources that can help you. So for me, whenever I met somebody, my focus was getting to know what their main goals were, and then making a connection, and then just helping them out and adding value. Because a lot of the times, I look at it as a relationship bank account. A lot of people, they meet somebody and they want to withdraw, or they want to deposit and then withdraw. I mean, if you do that in your bank account, you deposit $100 and you withdraw, you're back to zero. So my strategy was deposit, and sometimes I would not ask for a favor for people. It's just the way I conducted myself.
Yes.
And when I did want to ask for a favor, then it was it was done. It was and it happened. So, but my mentality is just how everybody that I meet, how can I add value to their lives? And that's just how I operate. And that becomes, and I turn it into a habit. And the most successful people, that's what they do, is they are a resource to everyone that they meet. They don't keep tabs. They're just they always, they remove the whole, it has to be just, it has to be fair, and they just give. And if you can rewire yourself to think that way, that you can the way relationships are built is you help people become a resource for them, and do it as much as much as you can,
Yes.
then you're not going to be, you come from a place of abundance and you're not going to have a problem building a network. In fact, people are going to recommend people to you, and and that's what happened. People were just like, hey, you got to meet Oliver.
Wow.
Next thing you know, every person that I met had 10 people and to introduce to me. So in the span of 90 days in that industry, I went from not knowing anybody to having like over 100 people that were all millionaires, that were all like, feeling like they owed me something, and I helped them out, and that's how I did my relationships. That's how I worked my network.
Wow. So here's a question on that then. So I interviewed a guy called Rob Moore from the UK, and he talked about this concept of when you put someone on a pedestal, you put yourself in a pit. So, well, there's a couple of things. Let's start with this. So first thing, you were talking about when you got started, you bought a program, you followed it, you implemented it, you got it done, you made your first 2K.
Sure.
Why is it that 97+% of people don't do that? They'll buy the program and they won't execute. What's, in your experience, the primary factors that create that? Because you just went out there and got it done, and then your trajectory is just gone. You've just been flying since. But most people sit on the sidelines and don't get in the game. So what's the critical success factors?
A lot of it, I think, is how you're wired. A lot of it is work ethic, like how you're wired. And back then I didn't have. Actually, it's funny because back then I didn't have much of a work ethic that I do now. It was actually, I had to rewire and a new way of being and a new way of conducting myself. But I didn't normally always have that. So back then it was pain. I just didn't want to come back in embarrassment of not succeeding, and for me it was a do or die. So for me it was not much of a, it had to happen, it must happen, there's no other way, and I have to do this. So a lot of the time people just don't want it bad enough because their why is not big enough. Or so for them it starts with the motivation. So it's either they want to lose something, they don't want to lose something, they're moving away from something, or they're moving towards something. But if the motivation isn't there, then you have to increase one of those. So I start with that. So, and a lot of the times for me, I perform the best when I'm under pressure. So that was a hard thing to rewire, because the thing is that means everything's going good. You have your foot off the pedal,
right?
You're not motivated. So for me, it's rewiring to turn into a habit to where I'm always I'm working on stuff, even if it's not urgent. So a lot of it is it started off with just me working when I felt like it was under pressure, and then it evolved to now I can work even if it's not.
Wow. And how specific, could you describe how you kind of made that shift in terms of now working, giving yourself the opportunity to not have to go full out, but you still have the motivation to do it?
So a lot of it is, for me, what shifted, and again, a lot of it was a lot of everything just collapsed on me. All the things that I had built kind of caught up and collapsed on me, and it just wasn't working. So again, it was painful, and then I had to shift, and then also it was combined with really finding. For me, is finding a mission and purpose. Really looking within, figuring out why you're here, what you're made for, what's your purpose, and realizing that you're not going to settle. You're just going to do whatever it takes to do what you have to do. And so a lot of it is, and for me, I get a lot of again, it fulfills my needs, because for me, knowing that I accomplished that, it brings great significance, great joy. It just affects all areas of my life. So for me, I try, a lot of the times people just have to find their motivation, because if you're motivated, if you want it bad enough, you can move mountains, you can make it happen. You have stories of moms that when their kids are in danger, adrenaline kicks in, and all of a sudden they're able to lift cars.
Yes.
So when the need is there, you do anything. So for me, I have this the way I think is if you're passionate about something enough, then laziness disappears. So, or if you want something bad enough, then you're gonna make it happen no matter what. So that's what you have to increase: either your need for it, or how bad you want it. And if you work on that, it will affect everything else. So, but if you're not motivated, you don't find it, then you're gonna be I don't really need to.
Got it. So you talked about when you first started, you had that driver of, I can't go back. I can't go back and say it didn't work.
Right.
And then you talked about going into other industries, dominating, go to number one. What's driving you right now? What's the driving force behind everything you're doing right now?
The driving force behind everything I'm doing now is I'm like my biggest. I'm learning that one of my biggest gifts and purpose here is to help people discover or find their full potential. So for me, that's what I'm doing right now. Is just like if I can figure out what my full potential is and push myself to the limit, then I can help people do that.
Do the same.
And do the same. So that for me is the biggest driving force. Is just what can I do? How can I be more so I can give more in that sense? So for me, what drives me really is like, I mean, like everything else is I want to be able to look back in my life when I'm like, 100 or plus years old and look back and be like, wow, I gave it my all, and legacy lives beyond me. Here's the lives of people that I changed. Here's how the world changed. So for me, it's like more of a if I believe that everybody is put on this planet with a gift or a message or something within them that they need to give to the world.
Yes.
So for me, I can activate that and help people reach their full potential so they can give it. So that's my responsibility.
I have a question here then. So I recently was talking to someone. We're in this organic health shop, right? And there was probably about 100. This sounds like a curveball, but there's like 100 bottles of different types of water, right?
Right.
So we live in this world now where choice is unbelievable. Mm-hmm. Choice is so unbelievable. So that's just one context. So when someone is figuring out what their unique gift is, and we live in this world where it's possible to have multiple talents, multiple interests, multiple passions, how does someone find their unique gift, that one superpower that they can really, if they put everything into that one superpower? And have you found that superpower for yourself? Is that something you've explored?
Right. And here's the thing is I believe that people have multiple gifts and multiple superpowers. I think the biggest, one of the biggest myths out there is it's an either or.
Nice.
It's just one or another. So you can have it all. So for me, my superpower is I understand people. It's communication. I can communicate. I can help people remove their blocks. I can help remove my own blocks. I'm good at and that's a good foundation for selling or for influencing. I can see a bigger picture. I can strategize. I can look at a situation. I can know the patterns and can see what costs what. So I need to know what needs to be shifted. So for me, if I put my mind to anything, I can go lightning speed and do more in a day than people do in weeks and months. So for me, those those are my superpowers, and I like learning and absorbing and modeling. So those are things that I love doing, that I'm great at. It translates to a lot of the things that I can see monetary or financial success from. And from a lot of times people have it within them. So if they're an accountant and they're good with numbers and they're just or they're a coach and they just love impacting people. And if you look at your life, you're gonna see patterns of whether you've tried or not. You're gonna see patterns of what you're good at.
Yes.
It's going to be prevalent in all your life.
Yes.
And a lot of times people don't see what they have as gifts. So for example, if somebody like me, when I was growing up, I couldn't finish a book, but I was going from one to another, and always started new things. Growing up, there's a lot of guilt and shame from people around me saying, well, you got to be this way and you're wrong, so we have to fix you. So I had to rewire myself to be like, oh, wow, there are a lot of people that are like Richard Branson that can start multiple things, and it's a great gift. Not everybody can be a Bill Gates.
Yeah,
can be a Bill Gates where you're Microsoft your entire life. Some people are like Richard Branson. They have 400 companies that are successful. So I don't have to be one, and I don't have to fit in here. So a lot of the times when you look at your past and you look at the areas where, sometimes it's just buried in guilt or shame, and that's where your gift is that's who you are, and that's where I normally look when I see people. Is I look to see how they're naturally wired, because people don't need to be fixed. They just need to learn how they work optimally. And for that, they just need to look in their lives and see what do they enjoy doing, what they're good at, what people normally compliment them on or recognize them for, and seeing how they can do that more on a more, grander level,
And then how does someone, once they've identified those things, their passions, their strengths, their skills, their superpowers, how does someone then stay focused? Because I think most of us entrepreneurs have this kind of built-in need for variety at a higher level than most people. I think it's just ingrained. Many people I interviewed, it's that need for variety, bigger than most people. How do you then take all of that and focus so that you can compartmentalize your time, or what steps have you taken so that you can focus 100% on your A game?
So the key there is not trying to change how you're wired, because I'm the same way. I'm variety driven. So for me, it's about, and I'm big on like habits and how your day is supposed to be like, because the things that you do every single day and the way for me, if I want to know what someone's life's going to be like 30, 40, 50 years from now or 10 years from now, it's easy. I'm going to look at their daily actions, their habits, and what they're doing on a day-to-day basis. It's not rocket science. So for me, if I have a need for variety, I'm not going to try to rewire myself and say it's bad to have variety. I'm going to either have a day where I'm spending 50 or 60% of my time doing and focusing on what I need to do, and the other 40% of the time I have variety.
Yeah.
Or I might have blocked days where in today, I'm only going to do marketing or and funnels, or today all I'm going to do is talk to the companies that I acquire, and grow them. So a lot of it is theme days, and a lot of it is not. If you're big on variety, a lot of it is not sticking to one thing and forcing yourself to be there. It's giving you the flexibility. A lot of the times, I'll be like, here's what I need to do today. It doesn't have to look a certain way. I don't have to. Like, for example, a lot of people are like, okay, if you want to be a billionaire or top achiever, you got to wake up early. And reality is that you don't have to wake up early, because the thing is, if you look at what they're doing, they're working 12 or 16 hours a day. I wake up at 9 or sometimes 10 or 11 a.m. and I can still get 12 or 14 hours a day still done.
Yep.
So it's not a matter of having to look exactly that. It's figuring out how you can get the results and doing it your own way, and not having to live by anyone's rules or what it should be. So a lot of it is just a lot of times people are like, well, I need to be this to be successful, but I'm not that. So let me spend 5 or 10 years making myself that, and they don't succeed. It's a long way to go. So for me, it's just figure out how you best operate and work everything around that, and that makes more sense.
Awesome. So I'd like to transition now to talk about a kind of core section around high ticket sales, high ticket coaching, because it's kind of like the holy grail for many people. It's something they all want to move towards. If you're ambitious, you want to dominate your industry, it's something that you really want to master. So what are the keys? What are the real keys to achieving that?
So a lot of the high ticket. So for me, when I did a lot of my philosophy is, there is the biggest leverage point, and I'm always, in anything I do, I always look for leverage points. The small things that might seem like the small things, but they make the biggest difference. And for me, when I go in the industry, I don't go to compete. I normally go to just dominate. And the way I do that is I outvalue everybody. So if somebody's giving, I have no problem. So for example, if I want to attract a client that's paying $10,000 or $25,000, most of the time those kind of clients, before they come to me or before I even pitch them, they already know in their mind that they want to work with me. They're like, I'm going to work with you. So how do I get them to that phase? But before I even pitch, they want to work with me. Because the thing is, for me, it's like efficiency. So if I'm going to talk to somebody, I want to make sure that majority of the heavy lifting is done. So how do I do that? I have no problem giving away thousands of dollars worth of information for free, and investing in the customer experience. And the same mentality I have with networking is the same mentality I have with prospects. Is I just give more than anybody else. I don't care. A lot of people have that whole mentality of, if I give it for free, they're gonna run away with it, and and I'm gonna lose it. I gotta charge. But for me, I'm like, I don't mind giving away 3, 5, 10. Sometimes, a lot of times people message me and they're like, Oliver, I've got my first $10,000 client from your free advice, and I'm like, perfect. I know I'm doing my job right, because the thing is, once you're in that mindset and you're doing that as a strategy, nobody can compete with you. Awesome. There's no competition, and that's how I've pretty much grown every single business that I had. It's just, I go in there and I outgive and I outvalue everybody else. And a lot of times it's a mindset thing, because a lot of people feel like they're losing something when they give. But for me, I'm not losing something when I'm giving, because I'm just like, I'm just giving with the intention of it. Hopefully somebody uses it and improves their lives. And that's the intention. As a byproduct, they become high paying clients.
Absolutely. And if for the listeners, if they want to get an example of that, you really need to go and check out Oliver's Facebook page. Over the last few months, there's been some mind blowing videos. He even shared this hour-plus long video from one of his high-ticket workshops that, I'm sure people paid multiple thousands to be part of, just to have that. And you're sharing that value. And again, that some people could have the scarcity mindset of, oh, that's, I charge people that amount of money. How can I share that? But then the value of doing that, people will see it and say, wow, that's an experience I would like to be part of next time. And you kind of closed the loop for me a little bit in terms of, my next question was, for someone just starting out, they could say, okay, Oliver, it's very easy for you to say you've done this and this and this and this, so you can position yourself here.
Right.
But anyone can add value. But I guess the challenge for a lot of people, it comes back to that point around the networking piece. And like we were talking about putting someone on a pedestal and putting yourself in a pit. If you don't value your own expertise at the right level, then how can you overcome that piece? Because I think that's a major block that many people have, is not self-valuing what they can achieve. They think, oh, I could never work with that type of person. I could never charge that amount. How do people get through that? Because that's
Well, a lot of it is, so there's different ways. And one of the favorite techniques that I walk people through is, like, if you want to charge $10,000, I want you to create a program that in your mind is worth $25,000 or $30,000. And I want you to rip yourself off and just charge 10,000. So when you charge 10,000, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Nice. So I just reverse it on them.
Awesome.
Because a lot of the times people are afraid to charge because they're afraid that they're going to get rejected or people are not going to buy. And the reason why people are not going to buy are going to get rejected because they don't see the value in it. So the solution is overvalue it to where you feel like you're being ripped off, and then sell it. And then what ends up happening is you get people to buy, you build confidence, and normally the confidence comes in the third to fifth sale. First, second, or third, you're like, yeah, but you still fluctuate. But by the time you have a third or fifth sale, it kind of like solidifies in your mind, wow. And then you're like, man, charge so cheap for that. And then it kind of like reverses on you, and now you raise your prices. So a lot of it has to do with, I just do it that way. A lot of it is just figure out, like, I know that the confidence comes from results. And the fastest way for them to get results is I just need them to, like, just feel 100% confident about what they're offering. So if they're selling something for 10,000 and it's worth 25,000, then they're super confident. And when they're super confident about what they're selling, they can sell anything. So a lot of it boils down to state. So if they're super confident, then their confidence, even with a sucky sales script, they can sell, because the confidence is what people buy, is that certainty. So that's kind of like what I try to get is, how can I make this person certain about what they're selling? Because if I do that, they're going to make a sale, they're going to get results, and they're going to raise their prices, and they're going to just keep raising them. So for me, I just look at the fastest path for them to do that. Instead of them having to wait, I just try to, like, get them out there and just, like, and I guess I just see how fast it can be, how fast it can be done, and I hold that expectation high for them, and normally it works. So they just do it.
So let's take a situation. Say, for example, you've got two personal trainers or fitness professionals.
Sure.
And you've got one guy who's charging £5,000 for a 12-week package, and one guy who's charging £500. Very real situation. I've worked with people just like that here in the UK. And you look at their portfolio results, and they're kind of like 99.9% similar. What are the keys to then positioning yourself at that high level? Because, the result is the same, but one guy's charging 5,000 and one guy's charging 500. So what are the components necessary to position yourself at that higher price point?
A lot of the components is just educational. So a lot of it would be, so for me, a lot of it is before they even get to that page, they're already sold. So it's the sales page doesn't really do much. I mean, it does, because let's say you're pitching something somebody, right? They can get to that page already pre-sold, or they can get to the page cold. So for me, my goal is I want them to get in that page already pre-sold. So a lot of it, again, boils down to how they perceive you and the legwork and how much work you've already done before they even get there. And it's kind of the difference between, meeting somebody and then, meeting somebody right away and then wanting to get married to them. What are the chances of you succeeding with that versus going on a date, building it up, going on vacations, and then once the timing's right, you pop the question. It's the same thing in sales, and a lot of people, like, a lot of men are trigger happy. They're like, oh, let me just get a sale. Let me just get a sale, and understand that it's an experience that they have to foster them. And some people will buy on the spot. Some people, like, I have people that are like, hey, Oliver, I've been following you for 8 months. I've been following you for a year, and I want to buy.
Nice.
Like, you'll never know. So and the thing is, a lot of the times, like, one is, most of the time, I've seen people that are, and this is one of my students, Gerald. Like, he was making $2,000, I think $3,000 a month with his coaching program. He kept everything the same. The only thing he changed was the prices in the funnel. Because my mentality is that there's always people at every level that will pay. It's kind of like when you put somebody in an airplane, somebody's always going to be first class, business and economy. With cars, there's someone's always going to buy the top version, someone's going to buy the bottom version. In hotels, there's always somebody's going to be in the suite and the regular room. So a lot of the times, the solution is just having a package that's high enough, and by not even changing anything, just having high prices, you're going to have people that are going to want to buy.
Wow.
So a lot of the times, it's just having the confidence to do that. Like, just have the high prices and being able to say it with a straight face, knowing that you can deliver it. That's all it is being able to say confidently, straight face, knowing that you can deliver it, and you should be able to deliver it. So that's one. And a lot of the times when he did that, we changed that model. The first month he made 50 grand, and then the second month he made 100 grand.
Wow.
That's all we changed. Like, we didn't even add any educational pieces to it. We just changed the packages and the offer, and that works. So that's a big piece to it too. But for me, like, I normally do it from all angles. So I'm going to try to, like, do everything I can versus the education, making sure it's a killer offer, and making sure I over deliver. So if nothing else, just have an offer that's good enough that will appeal to people that want to pay those prices, and just educate the hell out of them. Like, just give more than, like, like, figure out what you would charge. Like, here's what I would think. Figure out what you would charge $1,000 for, what you would talk about, what you would teach, and in 30 days, pepper that information in on Facebook. Give it away. Like, whether it's a post or a video, just give it away. And what is going to end up happening is it's going to, like, the people that are low ticket, they're probably not going to do anything about it. The people that are high ticket, they're watching. They're attracted. They're watching. They want more, and they're ready to pay after 30 days. So try that out, and you'll see a huge difference. Like, people that your competitors and majority people and majority of clients that wouldn't have bought from you anyways, they're low ticket. They're gonna think you're crazy. They won't resonate with it, but they're not the ones you're going for. You're going for the 3 or the 5% of people who are your target market. So for me, I don't really care about what everybody else thinks, because, like, at the end of the day, I only listen to the opinions of people that pay me high prices.
Nice.
So and that's kind of like where I get majority of my feedback from, is like, if somebody tells me something, gives me a criticism, unless they're a $10,000 client, I don't really pay attention to it, because it's irrelevant. It doesn't serve me in what I'm trying to do.
It's like asking a dog owner for feedback on a cat product. It's
exactly
awesome. So we're coming up to the final round now, Oliver. So I've got 3 kind of core questions, rapid fire questions to finish up. The first one is, if your younger self, and you can pick the age, if your younger self was to see you now, what would your younger self say to you?
Wow, I never knew you could make it. I never knew you had it in you.
Amazing.
Probably, yeah.
And then what advice would you give back the other way?
I would say that everything you believe about yourself, everything you learned, everything people told you about you is probably wrong. So you can create yourself, you can redefine yourself, start unlearning, like, or just start realizing that who you think your thoughts are not you, and surround yourself with people who you want to be like. I would just let them know that.
Wow, powerful. And what is your number one fear in life?
My number one fear in life right now would be regret.
Wow.
I'm not giving it my all, or not, like, not really fully living life, or not really fully doing what I need to do.
Wow.
Or like, so that's one of my biggest fears, is regret. Like, so for me, it's a lot of it is not directly driven by that, but if there was one fear, that probably would be it.
Wow. I've started asking that on the show because, many people listening, they're, grappling with their own fears. And I want to show that, it's even the people at the top, they have fears too. That's an important thing. So when people are looking at people, they think they're fearless. Well, I believe everyone has fears, just they don't necessarily talk about it. So thank you for opening up and sharing that. The final question to you is, what does being unstoppable mean to you?
Being unstoppable for me means like you don't. It's not that you never fall, or you never have a bad day, or you're never off. Being unstoppable is being resilient. Is knowing that when you're off, it's fine. Like you can give yourself a little break, but you get back on, and it's just not stopping. It's just it doesn't have to look perfect. It's not like, oh, you never fail, you never cry, you never sag, you never have an off day, you never lose money. It's that you always get back and move forward, and you're resilient. And if that's something you can build in to your identity, like I'm the kind of person that I might get knocked off, or I might get off course, but I minimize the amount of time that I do that and keep improving. And I just get back and just try it again. And if you can, and that for me is unstoppable. It's not the person that's never lost or never fell or never had their never just had disappointment. It's the person that always just keeps on going. Wow. I've got pages of notes from today's show already, and I've got pages of notes of other questions I'd love to have asked you, but our time is up. But there's one really important question I must ask before we close up. Is how can the listeners who are tuning into the Unstoppable podcast today find out more about your work? How can they find out about that great value you've been talking about today? Where's the best place for them to go to see what you're up to? Two things. One is my website is olivertalamayan.com. So that's Oliver, Oliver, and then Talamayan, TALAMAYAN.com. Or they can add me on Facebook. They can just look for me, and I'm the Asian dude with the long hair, and they'll find me. It's awesome. Not hard to spot it.
Awesome. All the links will be on the show notes. So, Oliver, thank you so much for unleashing your greatness on the Unstoppable podcast today and sharing so openly. I really appreciate your time, and it's been a real pleasure to connect. And I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thanks for having me.
Unstoppable Tribe, I had many aha moments whilst recording today's interview, and I cannot wait to put Oliver's advice into practice and share the results. Now, I talked about my Facebook group at the beginning of today's episode, the Unstoppable Mastermind. However, I also strongly encourage you to check out Oliver's group called the Ultimate Achievers Mastermind. Links to both groups will be in the show notes at danjgregory.com/64. So head there right now to get involved, danjgregory.com/64. I've been part of that group for some time now. The content there is invaluable. It's an amazing community. Just look out for some of Oliver's videos. They're absolutely A-class. He holds nothing back. And, you heard it from the horse's mouth today. It's all about adding value. Go there. You will find exceptional value. Now, that's all we have time for this week. I'll be back on Monday with my next solo round episode, so please subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform to make sure that you never miss a beat. Until next time, go out there, unleash your greatness, build your empire, make your impact, and live your ultimate life. You are unstoppable.